Did you know that there is a maritime route connecting two continents that has completely transformed global trade? In today's video, we will explore the fascinating Suez Canal, a masterpiece that shortened distances, sped up goods transportation, and forever changed the world economy. Get ready to discover how this incredible feat of engineering shapes the future of international trade. The Suez Canal is one of the world's most important artificial waterways, stretching 193 kilometers across Egypt and linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea. Its main feature is its efficiency in maritime traffic, as unlike other canals, it does not require locks for ships to pass. This allows for direct communication between Europe and Asia without the need to sail around the vast African continent, which would make the journey much longer and more costly. Today, the canal is one of the world's most critical maritime routes, with hundreds of ships passing through daily, transporting a vast variety of goods between Asia, Europe, and even the west coast of the United States. It's estimated that around 14% of world trade flows through the Suez Canal, a true masterpiece of human engineering that has transformed global trade since its opening in 1869. I am Luciano Gamarez, and today on Construction Time, we will dive into the fascinating story of the Suez Canal, the grand Egyptian waterway that cuts through the desert and connects continents. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notification bell so you won't miss any new content from Construction Time. Now, let's learn more about this impressive engineering achievement. The Suez Canal is strategically located on the Sinai Peninsula, Egypt, where Asia and Africa almost meet, very close to the European coast. Its construction was completed after 10 years of intense work and was officially inaugurated on November 17, 1869. The project was heavily influenced by the commercial interests of the imperialist European powers at the time, especially France and the United Kingdom. The canal's privileged location, facilitating the transportation of goods between Asia, one of the world's largest production hubs, and Europe, a major consumer center, made Egypt a crucial connection point between the West and the East. As a result, the country began to play a strategic role in global trade, with the Suez Canal as one of the main cogs in the wheel of globalization. Extending from Port Said in the north, along the Mediterranean coast, to the city of Suez in the south at the edge of the Gulf of Suez, the canal separates the African continent from the Sinai Peninsula. Although locally owned, the Suez Canal, by international convention, must be open to navigation for all countries, whether for commercial or military purposes, a rule that has not always been upheld throughout history. The idea of constructing a canal in this region dates back more than 3,800 years, during the reign of pharaohs who already envisioned facilitating the transport of ships across Egypt. In fact, the concept of a canal linking the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea and the Nile River persisted for centuries until the first canal in the region was constructed during the reign of Senusret III, between 1887 and 1849 BC. Although visionary, this initial version of the canal was abandoned and reopened multiple times over the centuries, depending on the needs and priorities of the rulers of the era. Historical documents indicate that there were several efforts to expand it, along with additional attempts to construct new canals in the region. One of the first modern efforts to build the Suez Canal occurred in the late 18th century during Napoleon Bonaparte's expedition to Egypt. Napoleon believed that, by controlling a canal on the Isthmus of Suez, France could harm British commercial interests in southern Africa. However, studies conducted in 1799 mistakenly indicated that the water levels of the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea were too different, making a viable canal impossible at the time. With the advancement of the Industrial Revolution and the growth of international maritime trade, the idea of a canal that directly connected the Mediterranean to the Red Sea regained strength. The global economy was expanding rapidly, and reducing navigation time between Europe and Asia became a priority for business leaders. Thus, the construction of the Suez Canal finally became a reality, revolutionizing maritime transport and solidifying Egypt as one of the primary crossing points for global trade. The next attempt to build a canal in the region occurred in the mid-19th century when, in 1858, the French diplomat and engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps founded the Universal Company of the Suez Maritime Canal. This company received the concession to begin construction and operate the canal for 99 years. After this period, control of the waterway would revert to the Egyptian government. The construction of the Suez Canal officially began on April 25, 1859. It is estimated that a total of 2.613 billion cubic feet of earth had to be removed, with 600 million done manually and 2.013 billion by dredging. The challenge of connecting the Mediterranean to the Red Sea also attracted harsh criticism from the British, who viewed the project as a political maneuver to undermine their dominance in global maritime trade. Despite this, Britain ended up purchasing 44% of the canal's shares in 1875 after the Egyptian government, facing financial difficulties, auctioned its stake. Initially, the construction work was carried out by forced labor. Thousands of people were compelled to dig the canal using only pickaxes and shovels. This forced labor system was only stopped in 1863, when it was prohibited. With this change, the construction company had to bring in steam and coal-powered machinery, such as mechanical shovels and dredgers, to boost the project. The introduction of these machines accelerated the work's progress, allowing the waters of the Mediterranean to flow toward the Red Sea on November 17, 1869, when the canal was finally opened for international navigation. At that time, the Suez Canal measured between 60 and 90 meters in width at the surface, 21 meters in width at the bottom, and 7 meters in depth. Today, the canal is 24 meters deep and 365 meters wide, allowing the transport of cargo up to 240,000 tons. The first major engineering challenge was in the area of Port Said, about 32 kilometers from Lake Manzala. In this area, the canal was only 1.5 meters deep, with a bottom composed of extremely soft clay from the sediments brought by the Nile. This weak soil made it difficult to dig and construct the canal's banks. To overcome this obstacle, engineers opted for an ingenious solution. They removed much of the clay from the lake bed, squeezed the water out of the material, and formed blocks that were stacked to create the banks. This method allowed the formation of a small channel 3.65 meters wide, enough for the dredgers to begin operating. The remaining clay was left to dry in the sun, creating a solid mass that strengthened the banks, which ultimately stood 2 meters above the water level. The project's success depended heavily on the intensive use of dredgers to remove large amounts of mud and clay. The dredgers were designed in different sizes and power capacities according to the nature of the work. The smallest ones had 15 horsepower, followed by intermediate dredgers, while the largest, with up to 75 horsepower, were 33 meters long and 8 meters wide, with drums standing 14 meters above the waterline. Once the dredgers reached the necessary depth, they connected the canal to the freshwater channel, and the dam dividing the Suez Canal was removed. The final filling of the canal was completed on August 15, 1869. One of the last challenges was the rapid dissolution of the salt crust in the Bitter Lakes, a 100,000-acre area filled by water in only 7 months, significantly less than the initially projected 10 months. Another issue that arose was the absence of a significant water current between the two ends of the canal. Studies conducted in 1847 predicted that the waters of the Red Sea would not flow into the Mediterranean as expected. In reality, the influence of the Red Sea's waters extended only to the Bitter Lakes, which acted as a large reservoir and regulator of water levels at both ends of the canal. To resolve this issue, temporary locks were installed, which helped carry water to the opposite end, ensuring the full functionality of the waterway. Although the construction of the Suez Canal officially began in 1859, its expansion and modernization never ceased over the years. The current cross-section of the canal is 15 times larger than when it was inaugurated in 1869. Numerous transportation and irrigation projects have been implemented to develop both the canal and the surrounding region. This included not only widening and deepening the canal, but also creating strategic bypasses to optimize maritime flow. It is estimated that investments in these projects exceeded $1 billion, though the total final cost was more than double the originally planned amount. The Suez Canal and the Panama Canal, historical rivals, play essential roles in global trade by shortening trade routes that would otherwise be much longer and more costly. With the continued growth of container ships, both canals recognize the need for major expansion projects to keep pace with increasing demand in the sector. In the Panama Canal, the expansion project began in 2007 and was completed in 2016 when a new set of locks was inaugurated, allowing much larger vessels to cross its waters. This new system enabled the canal's cargo capacity to more than double, meeting the growing demand of international trade. In response, the Suez Canal Authority also announced its own expansion plan in August 2014, which included deepening the canal and building a new 72-kilometer parallel lane to allow simultaneous two-way traffic. Before the expansion, the canal only allowed one-way convoys, which caused significant delays. With the expansion, transit time through the Suez Canal was reduced from 18 hours to 11 hours, while waiting time decreased from around 11 hours to just 3 hours. The project, which involved expanding the Bala Passage by 35 kilometers, had an estimated cost of $8.4 billion. Funding for the project came through the issuance of investment certificates available exclusively to Egyptian entities and individuals. This expansion was designed to double the canal's capacity, increasing from 49 ships per day to up to 97 ships. The new lane was inaugurated during a ceremony on August 6, 2015, marking a historic moment for global maritime trade. In addition to structural improvements, the Suez Canal stands out for its strategic location and its unique characteristic of having no locks, as Egypt's flat terrain and the minimal difference in water level between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea allow direct navigation. However, the absence of locks also exposes the canal to certain risks, such as tsunamis, which could directly impact ports at both ends. Nonetheless, the canal remains one of the world's most important routes, generating a record revenue of $6.3 billion in 2021, even after facing the historic blockage caused by the grounding of a container ship in March of the same year. The incident involved a 400-meter-long ship, equivalent to the height of a skyscraper, that became stuck diagonally in the canal, completely blocking passage. It is believed that strong winds from a sandstorm, combined with the large number of containers on the ship acting as a sail, caused the vessel to lose control and become grounded. The result was a congestion of over 200 ships, stuck at both ends of the canal, waiting for the route to be cleared. These ships carried goods of all kinds, from automobiles to electronics, causing great concern among the companies involved. Beyond the direct impact on trade, the canal's blockage led many ships to consider diverting their route around the Cape of Good Hope at Africa's southern tip. However, this alternative brings an additional risk: piracy along the African coast, which has increased in recent years, especially in waters off Somalia. These areas are known as some of the most dangerous in the world for navigation. The strategic importance of the Suez Canal was underscored during this episode, as its temporary interruption had an immediate global impact, with delays in goods delivery and additional transportation costs. The incident also highlighted the relevance of the canal and the adjacent pipeline for trade and energy transport. The Suez Canal plays a fundamental role in the global flow of oil and natural gas, accounting for 9% of all seaborne oil and 8% of liquefied natural gas. The strategic importance of this canal is undeniable, as it offers the shortest route between Europe and Asia. Since its completion in 1869, the Suez Canal has solidified its status as one of the busiest maritime routes on the planet, providing enormous benefits to the maritime transport sector. The main advantage lies in the significant reduction of transit time between continents, which also results in considerable savings in operational costs, making international trade more efficient. The connection between the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea provided by the Suez Canal has not only accelerated commercial transactions but also boosted the economic development of the surrounding region. This strategic link facilitates the flow of goods from major manufacturing hubs, such as China and Southeast Asia, to the European market, one of the largest and most important global consumers. Thanks to the canal, products can be transported much faster and at reduced costs, benefiting both exporters and importers, thereby further strengthening global trade. Moreover, the positive impact of the Suez Canal extends far beyond the trade of goods. Its presence has transformed the regional economy, creating a vital hub for international transport. Egypt, in particular, benefits directly from the heavy flow of ships crossing the canal daily, generating significant revenue that boosts the local economy. This infrastructure is one of the greatest symbols of modern globalization, efficiently connecting east and west, contributing directly to the stability and growth of international trade. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos here on the channel. And if you haven't subscribed yet, take a moment to do so to stay updated on all the latest from construction. If you want to keep watching, we have more recommended videos for you, which will appear on your screen now. A big hug, and see you in the next video.